All right. Let's see if I can avoid anything stupid. Finally home, not dealing with dumb stuff. We have a grand total of 48 minutes until lock. So we have quite a lot to go over before the slate begins. I already see Nick asking about Larson being a lock. I'm going to go over quite a lot of things in the 30 minutes or whatever. Go ahead and mute that since we are live. Now, yet again, we are, at least me, I am obviously TrueDFS is, we're moving at least the NASCAR stuff. We're moving all that behind the paywall very soon, as we have been stating before. And I'm going to say this a lot going forward up until everything is officially behind the paywall, that we had been saying that all the prices were going to go up. I mean, we have finally finalized nearly everything on the site outside of migrating to the new website. I mean, the NASCAR package is $40. I understand some of you might not like that, but at this point, it makes much more sense for you to go ahead and get the TrueDFS plus SaberSim Ultimate Package, which, if you notice, just saying, if you get it through SaberSim, which I'm able to say, okay, I've not been told I cannot say this or use this as a selling price. If you buy SaberSim through SaberSim, it's $297. You buy it through us, it's $320. Plus, you get all the stuff with our core. Plus, you get the paid earn analytics tools. Obviously, my NASCAR stuff. Like, why would you not get literally basically 3 sites for the price of one at $320? Plus, if you use the promo code on the bottom of your screen, which is Masters T DFS, you get 33% off any. I believe it's the first month of any package that you go with. So obviously, if you want to take a gander at trying this out or trying out SaberSim, or if you have SaberSim and you want to just get more free value, go ahead and cancel through SaberSim and get it through us. Like, I can go ahead and say that. Now, with that said, obviously we are running with 46 minutes before lock here. One of the tools that we have, which I have talked about in different preview videos, and I apologize that I just haven't been able to make videos throughout the week. I've just had a ton of shit going on. Between family being sick and other stuff, the last 2 weeks, it's been really shitty. Also, I come back and my fucking AC's out. So now I gotta get that fixed tomorrow. So apologize for not having stuff out. When we look at the scores, now yet again, you might be like, Brandon, this is quite difficult, even though it is at 1080p on the YouTube video. You can go ahead and get our package and then you can read through this in more detail. But we're kind of just going over this very quickly since there was no preview video and anything for this weekend. Now, yet again, the big asterisk around this race that starts in 45 minutes is the fact that we did not have practice and qualifying. This is set by the metric coming off of the Martinsville race. And when we are looking at that, obviously you might, and yet again, we are looking at, the different races or the tracks that are similar in a contest size for this race. Now, yet again, we've had races at Bristol that were 200 laps. We've had races that were 250. This is the 250 race here. But when we're looking at the, where the average lap leader comes from, obviously it's starting from the front of the grid. Now, that is normally due to the fact that we have a fast car starting in front of the grid. When we look at today's contest, obviously we have things jumbled up. And yet again, this video, at least this one, I probably won't give as much information away tomorrow and Sunday, but this one is yet again trying to sell you on wanting to use the stuff and how to fucking use my stuff, because we get a lot of questions, or not questions, but like people just don't know how to, really look through projections and check out things. So just really quick going through where these drivers are scoring, or the main dominators are scoring. Obviously, you can go through and look at everything here. If you look at fast laps or finishing position and stuff, now obviously the fastest car is typically finishing up front at Bristol, and at least certainly in the top 4 positions. But when we look at the grid here, we certainly have quite a few starting. You have Corey Heim starting 4th. You have Larson starting 9th, I believe. Obviously, we'll check in a second. A lot of guys that can do a lot of damage in terms of leading. Obviously, this is laps led by finishing position. So obviously, you're expected to see your top 2 guys carry the most amount of laps led in this race. Obviously, how does this help you? We can kind of work backwards and have an idea of, hey, if you're projecting so-and-so to win, or if I have someone projected to win, or whatever the case may be, you're expecting them to not only have the most amount of, not only to win the race, but they're going to lead the most amount of laps, get the most amount of fast laps and stuff like that. Now, one thing that I do want to note is when we're looking at the place differential for this race, yet again, we'll look at the grid in a second. We have a solid 43 minutes until lock starts. When we're looking at where drivers are coming through the field, and you look specifically at who is able to come up through the field, whether it be Martinsville in 2022, Bristol in 2022 with Zane Smith, William Byron 2022, Sammy Smith in 2024, North Wilkesboro, Parker Kligerman, Henderson. Hey, does that sound familiar today? You keep going through and looking at who's coming through the field in these races, and I'm just saying really fast, low key, Parker Kligerman, kind of a good play, obviously. We've seen in situations where good drivers start in the back of the field, whether it's because they, had qualifying rained out, or they're just starting in the back of the field. And we then look at where everybody is in terms of speed in the truck series. Obviously, the place differential in these races seem to look pretty decently if they're starting in the back of the field. Now, when we start looking at towards the, the mid-range stuff, anywhere from, we're going to argue from like 18th to 24th, who are the drivers that are coming through in these positions here? It looks like, hey, man, Andres Perez, a lot of good drivers here. Obviously a lot of Tricon cars, Lane Riggs. We're not really seeing guys that aren't big names come through. Like we're seeing Thor Sport trucks, we're seeing obviously Tricon. Like we're seeing guys who have shown speed at these tracks. Okay, the reason why this is so important, yet again, I know the big thing up there is do you play Larson or not? Honestly, I don't think that's where the slate. I mean, obviously it is determined like where the slate is going, but that's like literally the opening question of the slate. It's much more important to determine what else we're doing with those lineups once we determine if we're playing Larson or not. Thank you for the 75 people of you guys here watching this live stream here. Please drop a like and subscribe if you want. I don't have a gun to your head, so I guess you can do whatever you want. When we're looking at the biggest movers, and this is just shown on your screen yet again, maybe if you can't read, you can go ahead and get the package so you can go through this in more detail. Obviously, we have more things to look at here. But what I'm really focusing on is when we look at the performance of these races. Now, yet again, this is just one race based on just looking at short tracks and stuff this season. But when we look at the track performances between these drivers here, like obviously Corey Heim, Chandler Smith, Lane, and actually I want to set this by top 5 percentage in terms of laps. Enfinger, Corey Heim, Chandler Smith, Lane Riggs, Crafton, Kligerman, Roger Caruth, Ty Majeski, Stuart Friesen, obviously, et cetera down here. Like those are the good guys, right? Okay. So working with this, okay, we can kind of figure out where we want to go with the rest of our lineup. Okay, as I said, the Larson is kind of irrelevant. We're choosing to go that way or not. It's really depending on what the rest of the field is doing and what those lineups allow you to do. So if you were using my projections, what I will show you today, okay, typically, I don't just show this, but yet again, I'm trying to sell you on the package before everything goes fully behind the paywall. And once we do go behind the paywall, I fully expect to be going this deep in actually like talking about stuff on videos, because obviously it's behind the paywall. It's subscribers only. It's whatever. You can ask me any question you want if you want that. But when we're looking at where the projections are today, okay, now yet again, you're going to notice I have Corey Heim at 66, Larson 92. We're not talking about that right now. We're trying to determine who else are good plays in this race at the moment, okay? Maybe this will help you determine where ownership goes. Maybe this depends, or maybe this helps you figure out where you want to go with lineups, whatever. We'll talk Larson, Corey Heim, and all that shit in a second. Okay, who seems like good plays who are able to get through the field based on the grid that we have here? Okay, now I'm not saying we can't have Giovanni or let me get this on this side so I can go more detail on my second screen. There's that. Now I'm not saying Gio can't work. I'm not saying that Matt Mills can't move up through the field, because we've seen quite a lot of decent finishes out of Matt Mills recently, but also those are finishes and DFS scores where he is starting 21st, 22nd, and stuff like that, okay? Realistically, we're going to have situations where probably Matt Mills finishes around 18th to 15th, 18th to 13th and stuff, but you then compare that with where the potential finishing positions of Bailey Curry, Luke, Caden Honeycutt, Brandon Finger, Connor Mozak, all those guys here, and then you then combine that with where, let's go ahead and this is off my raw point here, but we'll go ahead and just add the salaries here so we can kind of walk through. Let's paste everything. Meep. What is making sense in this race here? Okay, regardless of where we go. Hey, now Corey Day, apparently, it's second to only Jesus Christ who can walk on water, apparently. $7,000. Now, he's not starting first. He's not starting fifth. He's not starting the top of the field like he has been doing. Now, he has performed quite terrible, obviously, with the very disappointing runs that I guess not even DFS players, just the industry, NASCAR industry. We look at the 3 finishes he's had here, 27th, 15th, and 32nd, with damage pretty much in every single one of these races. But Corey Day at $7,000, starting 29th, seems to make a lot of sense, and it's not even a situation where we need him to finish in the top even 10, by that matter. Corey Day is finishing 18th at Bristol in a truck that is drastically faster than a good portion of the field in front of him. That has a substantially higher floor than the rest of the field in front of him, okay? Who realistically is he going to be passing right off the bat in this race? Realistically, those people are going to be Spencer Boyd, Carroll, obviously Tony. Real chance we have other people slide through the field. And then we have, just Corey in a Spire truck able to at least finish top 20 on merit alone, on that speed of loan. Hey, probably a good play there. We have Patrick, the doctor, who has shown decent speed and a wild amount of competence when you actually have somebody who isn't brain dead in a race car, okay? Obviously, he's a doctor, and I'm not saying all doctors are geniuses, because obviously there's a ton who are stupid, just like engineers. Some people are really good in book smarts and just dumb as fuck in other situations here. But you compare Patrick to other values, other guys in the back of the field, Frankie, Norm Benny, Mussolini himself, Nathan. Patrick knows what he's doing. He's competent. He's shown the ability to get through the field. Now, yet again, we've seen him in enough races, not only in the truck, but Xfinity Series, to where he holds his own and can actually drive a car. Patrick, starting 26, makes a ton of sense at $5,700. We then continue going on. Yet again, when we look back, hey, maybe you want to look at the truck dashboard in a very easy way to determine who is probably a good play and who is performing well at these tracks. You see Enfinger, Heim, Smith, Lane Riggs, Crafton, Kligerman, Raja, obviously we can keep going down, but who's back here? Who's in that list? Grant Enfinger, Caden Honeycutt. Hey, Connor Mozak is most likely going to finish way better than he is starting today. Okay, and so then when we look at that, you look at what Mozak's been able to do, and yet again, you could argue that he's had very similar situations to what Corey Day has done, because he's probably overqualified compared to where he would finish or run in races. Obviously, his finishes are 33rd, 25th, 20th, 19th, and 25th. But Mozak starting 25th, certainly at a price tag at $6,800. Hey, these guys make a ton of sense, right? Yet again, this is not the Corey Hyman Larson discussion at this moment. We're just pointing out that we can pretty easily determine who's going to carry ownership, where you can go, who are the actual viable plays in this race. Yet again, this is how you can use not only my projections, but you also have Sheets' projections as well. If you go here and look at NASCAR projections, you also have his as well. Plus, hey, yet again, if you buy the TrueDFS plus any SaberSim package, you also have SaberSim's projections as well. So you can have 3 different projection sources to have a feel of where people are going. Anyway, continuing on, when we're looking at this range here, obviously Tanner Gray, who typically very similar to Austin Hill in the Xfinity Series races. Okay, now he has had instances to where yellows have faltered his average running position and hindered his finish towards the end of races, but Tanner Gray has a really good average running position inside the top 11 in most situations here. Obviously, we look at $7,400 for him. We look at $68 for Connor. We look at $7,000 for Corey Day. Haven't even mentioned Parker Clearman starting last, who has not only shown up in the, in the place differential, dashboard on here, showing that, hey, he's made it through quite a lot of, not even made it through, but has shown the ability to go from starting dead last to finishing in the top 15, if not higher. We see situations to where 8,000, 68, 7,000, 74, even Caden at 81 is not that drastically crazy. We see Grant Enfinger at $9,000, not drastically crazy. Okay, yet again, this is a different slate if we have Q, but obviously we don't have that. We're looking at 34 minutes before lock. The field is pretty small in terms of who you play. Okay, now, yet again, how can you use my stuff to determine where you want to go? Now, I have not entered any of my lineups yet. Obviously, I wanted to get this done first, and then obviously I'm going to probably end 10 minutes before lock or whatever. But how can you use this, my numbers? How do I personally use this stuff to build lineups? Which this year, even despite all the shit I've been dealing with personally for the last couple weeks, the projections have been really, really good. I have been phenomenally happy with the projections lately, not only in Cup, but across the board. I have been absolutely thrilled with how this year has gone, with how my lineups have looked. Now, what I mean by that is, so right off a baseline, yet again, this is showing how to use SaberSim. We're not even focusing on the contest sims that you have access to for not only NASCAR, but any of the sports out there. But what I do is, hey, if you use my stuff, this is what I do. I typically put my stuff in, build 5,000 lineups because I just want to have combinations of stuff so I can see where lineups go, where you were able to build, who you were able to use. Okay, thank you, Silva, for the compliment on the sales pitch. Now, I personally, everybody knows I hate really put on a sales pitch. Okay, but I'm at the point where before we go live, or before we go behind the paywall, I have to do that. Typically, obviously, if you watch me for years, you know that I'm not usually selling. I just don't really enjoy doing that aggressively, but whatever. What I do is I put all my stuff in, okay, right? Because I don't use a mean projection set. I just use where I think people are going to finish, which has benefited me the entire time I've played NASCAR DFS. Okay, and then what I do is I go by projected score. I want to look at the highest projected scored lineup. Okay, typically I play that lineup. I play a handful of the highest projected scores. Okay. Secondly, for a slate like this, to where people are concerned about what do you do with Kyle Larson at $15,000? OMG, he's so expensive. So on and so forth. When we are, yet again, hey, probably pretty decent lineups here, the ones that are scoring high. But what we can do here is I have Larson projected for 92 points today. When we look at that, and we look at what is going into that projection, it is a situation to where I have Kyle Larson projected to finish second today with a grand total of 87 laps led and 45 fast laps. I don't think that is crazy. I don't think that's a bad projection. I don't think that is out of the realistic range of what he can do. If he doesn't do that, it is because he is crashing, running into issues. But for all intents and purposes, I think that's a pretty decent projection. Okay. Now, what we can do is, say if we want to fade Larson, okay? Now, again, I'm just walking you through how I do stuff. Say you want to not play Larson, or if I want to look at lineups that don't have Larson in them, hey, just sorting by this probably gives me a good idea of where people would want to go. Now, obviously, if Larson isn't being used, Corey Heim then becomes the highest exposed driver because he's projected for 66 points, okay? With that said, if Larson is failing, who are the people who are most likely to gain a DFS advantage in a situation where he is not optimal in this race? That could be a multitude of things, whereas more place differential guys come through, and Finger, Caden, and whatever, and or there are more early lap leaders. Yet again, that's why Hemrick and Ankrum are projected for 47 and 44 specifically. They have the easiest advantage right off the bat to gain fast laps in this race. When we look at where these lap leaders are coming from statistically at these tracks, now yet again, we can look at all the tracks that are being used, whether it's IRP, Martinsville, North Wilkesboro, whatever. But even if we're just looking at Bristol, we see the pole sitter is usually a pretty decent play to get laps led. Obviously, second place as well. We see a lot of first and seconds in these. So it would only make sense that you would, or that I would have these guys projected to get laps led. Okay. So like that's how you would build if you don't want to go Larson, obviously, duh. And I'll tell you how I lean in a second. Now, say if you want to play Larson, you might be like, man, it's going to be difficult to get to him. You got to double punt. We got to play a lot of idiots, blah, 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 blah. Well, we look at kind of where, at least where I'm leaning towards of, you know, obviously the guys we've been talking about this whole time. And then we look at their prices. And I mean, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to play Kyle Larson, lineups that are playing Larson based on my stuff, Larson, Caden Honeycutt, Tanner Gray, Corey Day, Connor Mozak, the Doctor. That's a pretty decent lineup. Realistically, can very easily be done. Hey, you want to play Kligerman? Probably makes sense to build this type of stuff. This is how I use my projections to build lineups, okay? Yet again, not just looking at Larson, we then compare, and typically this is where I can usually see if I want to play a guy, not play a guy, hedge against the most expensive guy, whatever the case may be. My highest projected lineups across the board is 288. My highest Kyle Larson lineup is 283, I believe. Yeah, it's 283.3. They're pretty head-to-head, okay? My stuff shows it's pretty close, okay? Now, yet again, this is SaberSim's expected ownership, but if I go ahead and take a look at Sheets really fast, which we'll just go ahead and grab that really fast here. Obviously, I'm not going to show all his stuff here. I'm just showing my stuff so we can kind of look through. We look at what his expected ownership on Kyle Larson is. Now, yet again, we have 28 minutes until lock here. Kyle Larson's expected ownership that Sheets has is he's at 40% expected ownership on Sheets' stuff. We then, yet again, bounce that back. We look at 39 from SaberSim. My stuff shows, yet again, exposure. And yet again, this is just how I do stuff. I found success with this, whatever. My exposure between my top 1,000 lineups has him at 47.7. Usually when I see that, and it's a coin flip, I usually want to be over the field on that. I think Larson might be under-owned. I think especially, when we look at yet again, sorting by highest predicted lineups, 3rd, 4th, 8th, 9th, 15th, 16th, 17th, we're in the 20s, quite a lot in the 20s, quite a lot in the top 100. We take them out, and we see quite a lot of lineups that are, 1, 5, 6, 10, 12, a lot of 20s, quite a lot of 30s. It's a pretty head-to-head 50-50 chance if Larson works today, right? I would typically lean in situations like this to use Larson. I think Larson's a good play today. I think if you play more of him, I don't think the price tag is insane. Okay, now maybe possibly playing Corey Heim and Larson together. Now, yet again, I feel okay about doing this because I haven't entered any of my lines yet. I don't know what I'm playing yet. It's not like I'm giving away what I'm doing because I don't even know what I'm doing yet. Based on my stuff, I don't think it makes a ton of sense to play these two together, just because we're double punting a lot. But I think the lean on a slate like this is you probably want to play more Larson than the field. Now, yet again, I am usually very aggressive on what I want to do with the field, and I have been fading Larson a lot. Now, he has underperformed based on what he is expected to do in terms of dominating races, in terms of running away with the race, whether that be Homestead, whether that be wrecking on lap 4 at Darlington last weekend when he was massive chalk, and I had huge, I had very little faith in him actually being a decent play. So yet again, this comes from a guy who has not played Larson quite a lot, but I think from a leverage play, from what the slate is allowing us to do to very easily get to good lineups with Larson, you can very easily get, and I think Kligerman is probably going to be scoring more. I think there's a real chance that Enfinger and Kligerman are scoring pretty like high 50s. Yet again, let's take a quick look at where these DK scoring ranges go for these types of races. And we're looking, your fourth guy is right at 53, 49, 48. We're wanting guys who are going to be scoring in this range, Yet again, what guys do I have here that can realistically be in that range? That's why our pool is quite small today, because realistically, we're not using, I don't want to X them out here, but we're not using these guys. We're not using these fellas. We're not using these guys realistically. Chandler Smith, Rhodes, Lane Riggs. So how many people do I have X'd out here? Which I don't have that here. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. And drivers of the 35 automatically removed kind of on that baseline alone. This is I didn't mean to do that. Yikes. That's how I look at the slate. Just based on my data, I think you lean Larson today. Yet again, high variance because we don't have any practice. We don't have any like these guys in queue for their starting positions and stuff like that. But I think Larson is a pretty good play today. And especially if the field is going to be lower on him and we don't see that much of a difference between your highest projected guys and whatnot. And I think we get an ownership discount on Larson. Like, I think it makes sense to play Larson. Okay. That's from how I would approach this slate. Now, yet again, as somebody who enters a lot of lineups, for the lineups that I don't play Larson in, I'll put in Corey Heim, look at my stuff. What are my highest predicted Corey line lineups? Right? Like that. That's all I do. And typically throughout a portfolio, if I want to not have somebody, I just look at the lineups that are looking the best without that driver. And like that's what I do. Now that I got it all out of the way, like I said, if you want to join us, these are our prices now. You can go ahead and get a 33% off your first month with promo code MasterDFS, Master T DFS on any of the monthly subscriptions. And secondly, now I get that out of the way, drum roll, please. We're working with dead crew member Juju today, okay? Kyle Larson's PR guy died, okay? Statistically, anytime. Now, yet again, we got all the data out. We got all that out, so we're not coming out with conspiracy theories right off the bat. But statistically, when we look at NASCAR DFS, if there is a death involved in a team, even just in racing, things that aren't on from a betting standpoint, we've seen it in ARCA, we've seen it in IndyCar, we've seen it in ISMA. If there is a driver or a individual who has died that was close with either a driver or team, the following race and or that weekend, that team / driver performs in a spot in races that is projected to be over 6x value in these races. Now, the only time that I can think off the top of my head that they were wrecked out was Ryan Vargas at Pocono several years ago. But for the most part, that has won me a ton of money. Like when Chase Briscoe had a miscarriage, he won the Darlington race. Okay, I can't think of anything else off my head right now. That's just the first thing that comes to, but it's happened quite a lot. So Kyle Larson's PR guy died. Very close to him. Jeff Gordon, you're telling me Larson isn't going to try and kick the shit out of the field and then donate it to, Big Chief or whatever the heck his name is. I think Larson's a smash play on that alone, but I want to say that towards the end of the video. I do believe that's it. I don't see any questions. Okay. Typically, now again, could be right or wrong, but if I'm explaining where I'm coming from, I typically don't have a lot of questions in chat. So I'm taking that as a situation where you guys are happy, fulfilled. You feel like you are satisfied, whatever the case may be. We have 20 minutes until lock. I think that's mainly it. I don't think I have anything else to say. Outside of that, the people that I actually like, I like Parker Kligerman a lot. I like Enfinger a lot. Obviously, I like Larson, but I think Enfinger and Parker Kligerman are probably the strongest plays in the back of the field. That is my opinion on the races. If this is behind the paywall, I'd be answering lineup questions. If you are paying for the service, I will walk you through and help you through building and stuff like that. Obviously, this one's free, so that's not happening at the moment. That's mainly it. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Hopefully this helped you. Bye-bye now.